your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
I know Kung Fu. You know, baby.
Fists of Fail.
200 of these. No, technically not. We've done way more than 200, but officially, this is episode number 200. Holy crap, we've been doing this for many years.
It's been 4 years now?
4 years, yeah.
4 years we've been talking about martial arts movies. I remember when we first started doing this, and I would say comments like, I haven't seen enough of these films. I haven't seen enough of blank films, some actor, some director. Now, I can still say I haven't seen enough Lau Kar-leung films, but I can add one more to my list. But is it really a Lau Kar-leung film?
That's not a rhetorical question. It's not really one. I mean, Jackie really steals the show, right?
Well,
it's a co-directing from him.
The credits on this film. So we're talking about Drunken Master 2 without even talking about Drunken Master 1. How dare us? How dare we do that? But we're talking about Drunken Master 2. When you look at the credits on the film, it says like a Jackie Chan film, and then it also says a Lau Kar-leung film.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. Will, how about you clear up some of that?
Well, so apparently, well, not apparently, this is definitely the only time that the two have ever paired up, right? Two legendary staples or figures in the martial arts action movie sphere. This is the first time, the only time that they ever paired up together. And yeah, it was not meant to be, as Jackie himself put it, like two tigers cannot stand on the same mountain, and insert other Chinese proverbs here. So yeah, like they butted heads a lot. And like I love watching the behind the scenes or the making ofs, because obviously all the PR is like, yeah, like we're gonna make an amazing film where I put all our heart and soul into it. But yeah, that's the only making of that exists out there as far as I can tell, because oh boy, pretty soon into it, Jackie just let Lau Kar-leung go, and he kind of just stole the show. And the reason being, one reason being, is that at the end of the movie, Lau Kar-leung wanted this the one-on-many fight to cap off the film, and Jackie didn't want that. And that's probably for the best that we didn't go with that route, because we wouldn't have had the best fight scene ever. Ever. That's probably not a hyperbole.
Often cited as one of the best martial arts fight scenes put on film, and we can actually say put on film because this was filmed.
Yes.
On film, not digital, like we do now.
94, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just get the story out of the way real quickly, all right? Legend of the Drunken Master. If you guys haven't watched it, fucking stop listening to us right now and go watch it. God damn. Anyways, Jackie, I'm very aggressive today for some reason. Jackie is playing some 20-something-year-old, even though he's like 40 at the time of this filming. And he's supposed to be playing Wang Fei Hong, which is probably my only gripe of the movie. I'll get to that in a second. But he... Oh boy. How to do the Cliff Notes version of this. He gets tangled up in accidentally taking a artifact that Lau Kar-leung wanted, and through a series of events, he gets tied in with a bunch of folks who want to smuggle Chinese artifacts out of the country.
That is the
That is like the
extremely
simplest
simplified version of it.
It's more complicated than that, but that is the simplest way I can
You
explain
didn't
it.
mention the fact that alcohol is heavily involved in this.
Well, that's not the story. That's just no, yes, of course. And he does drunken boxing.
Right.
There
he
you
does
go.
drunken
That's the story.
boxing to win the day, essentially.
Yes.
But at what cost, Will? At what cost?
Depending
does
on
he
what
win?
ending you're watching. Anyways, oh god, story aside, we can talk about that more in a second. But this movie is legendary. I mean, I don't know of how much we can add in terms of like gushing all over it, but maybe that's just me. Zero, what are your thoughts watching it again?
I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I think the last time I saw it was with you.
Mm-hmm. We watched it in theaters.
No, we watched the first one in theaters.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
We watched the first one in theaters, and I fell asleep because I was dead tired, and there was just lots of fighting in that one. And you would think, as fight choreography enthusiasts, I would be into it, but I was so tired after work, and unfortunately, the movie put me to sleep. I know, for shame.
I think you're forgetting about that one time we went to go see it in Brooklyn. We did actually watch this in person.
No,
you are forgetting about this.
No, we did not.
We did. It was an English dub too.
No.
Yeah, you're totally forgetting about
Damn,
this. Are you drunk?
I must have been drunken at that time. The last time I recall watching it was with you at your place with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a crowd pleaser, so like, why not put it on, right? I mean,
but so before that, the last time I sat through the movie as a whole was probably one of the earlier times I had seen the movie, because I knew I liked the fight choreography, and when I like movies like with really good fights and whatnot, I tend not to watch them. I like to leave that kind of good feeling in my mind, but there was actually something off about it that I didn't enjoy.
Oh, okay.
And I may have said this on the podcast at one point, or I may have said it to you at one point, but one of my first viewings of this was the English dub. And the English dub of the movie has Jackie Chan doing his own voice, and it has I think some of the same people who do the dub for Rumble in the Bronx. So, because Anita Mui is in this movie, and then very, very random cameo from Uncle Bill at the end. It's almost like a reunion. Yeah. So, Rumble in the Bronx was my first Jackie Chan film. I have lots and lots of nostalgia for that. So, when I heard the English dub of this, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is, it's kind of like the same, But there was something weird in the dub that I cannot find anymore. I cannot find it anywhere. I have asked certain people about it, and some people have confirmed it as well, but I just can't find it anywhere. So,
what is it?
In the final fight between Jackie Chan and Ken Lo, Jackie Chan is verbally naming off all of the drunken style moves he does on Ken Lo. He kind of does this in some other fights where he, like older martial arts movies do that. They're like, oh, I'm doing, monkey grabs Peach, whatever.
Yeah. No, that sounds legit.
Yeah. But so in this dub, he starts naming all the moves, and it really annoyed me because it was so distracting that I remember not really liking the movie because of it. Because it kind of ruined it for me. And I got the English, the Miramax or the Dimension. I think it's Dimension, the Dimension DVD. And I was like, okay, great. I can finally confirm this, and it's not there. It is not there.
They heard you.
I
heard your feedback.
I do not fucking know where that cut exists, where he's spouting those lines, because I remember being really annoyed by it. So some people online have confirmed this too. They're like, oh yeah, I do remember in that dub that they did that. So I just can't find it. Looked in all these YouTube videos, looked in all these different English dubs of it. Just I don't know if it exists.
Is this a Mandela effect? Everyone just imagining this actually happened when in actuality it never existed?
Right.
Maybe it's in your head.
It could be in my head. I have strong memories of it because everyone was saying that Drunken Master 2 is amazing, that Last Bite's amazing. And for me, I remember thinking like, oh man, I just hate that dub. Like I hated the dub. Like it overpowered how good the fight choreography was for me, strangely enough.
So today, we're talking about like how we felt after rewatching it. Did you watch it again in English?
I did. Yes, I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so that's what you're just referring to. And your thoughts?
Like I mentioned, the same voice actors who did the dub for Rumble in the Bronx for Anita Mui and then Uncle Bill, and then Jackie Chan, of course, as well. They return. So it was like a nice nostalgic feel of hearing those voices again. So I actually didn't mind it.
Okay.
It feels nicer to watch it in the dub sometimes because, when you're looking at subtitles on the screen, sometimes I can't really see the whole picture because I'm reading the bottom of the screen. So, so I actually don't mind the dub personally.
Okay. So, if we're talking about our own personal experiences with it, myself, I grew up with this movie. I watched it countless times growing up. Seen this way more than the first one. I mean, I like the first one too, but like that's a completely different film. By the way, going back to what you were saying before, why haven't we covered the first one? These two movies are completely unrelated. It's not even worth saying like, okay, this is a continuation. Or like, I don't even know why people need to compare them either. They're like they don't feel the same whatsoever.
Well, there's a number 2 behind this one.
Yeah, well, that 2 is just in name only. This is weirdly enough, 16 years after the last film was released. It's like that's not even a special number.
Is it the same character? Is Wong Fei-hung in the first one? I can't remember.
He's still technically Wong Fei-hung, but that's the only thing I'll always take offense or like find really strange about these movies. Like that's not Wong Fei-hung. Like
he was never a drunken idiot.
Well, I mean, like nothing about this makes sense that he be Wong Fei-hung. Like like you think about I think about like the Once Upon a Time in China, and all the like other incarnations of Wong Fei-hung. Like it's very consistent. Even freaking Millionaires Express had a better Wong Fei-hung, like a very consistent Wong Fei-hung. This one's very much different. They could have made this character anyone else. But that's besides the point. I going back to what I was saying, I grew up with this movie. I always watched it in Cantonese. I watched it the one time in English with you in that theater, and I was like, "What the hell is happening? This is blasphemous. This is weird."
I am gonna say that was not me. That was some other brown Asian friend who you watched it with, because I do not have memory of that.
Well, regardless of where I watched it with, I would definitely not advise watching it in English. Although I get it, like you want to be able to like appreciate the action on screen, which is something that people these days they just want to read the subtitles, and they're just looking at the bottom fourth of the screen 90% of the time. So I guess I have that like privilege of mine where I can say like, oh, I can get to like watch a movie in its native language and not have to look at any captioning. And with that said, the final action scene, like even if you take out all the dialogue, you take out all the moments where they stop and just appreciate for the action, it really does hold up. It is a phenomenal action scene. It is so fucking good. And that is not to say that the rest of the movie doesn't hold up to like an equal standard. I think the rest of the movie is very entertaining, but that final action scene is so goddamn good that it's really not an exaggeration. When I almost want to say this is definitively my favorite fight scene of all time.
Interesting.
Like regardless of genre, regardless of like anything, like we're talking about like no matter how you measure it, like this is going to be considered my favorite fight scene of all time. So
you want to hear something controversial?
You didn't like it?
No, not that. I mean, it's an amazing fight scene.
That's really controversial.
Yeah, it's a goddamn amazing fight scene. The problem is we've seen all that choreography already. I mean, maybe it's just you and I because we, really, really hone in on fight choreography. That's kind of our MO now in this podcast. But all the moves that he performs on Ken Lo in succession, in beautiful, beautiful succession at the end of the movie, he does all that earlier in another fight scene. It's almost like that was filmed afterwards because they ran out of ideas and they're like, all right, well, let's just make this other fight scene real quick. Let's just reuse all this choreography and shoot it with other goons and whatnot. I always loved that last fight scene. And then when I started rewatching this, now with more veteran eyes to martial arts choreography, I realized that, oh my God, this is just all the choreography from the last fight scene coming earlier in the movie. Why is this here? This is strange. It's very strange that they did that. It's weird because it's not as good. It's good, but it's not as good as how it's set up in the end.
Oh, yeah. Right. I mean, I'd say that there's more like sprinklings of what you saw earlier in the film, but because he'll do certain moves that like his standing back bend and he'll like grab at someone's throat. Like you see him do that a couple times earlier in the film, and he does that in the final fight scene. But he varies it up too. So like I think that's what like kind of helps.
It's the different shots, it's the different compositions and edits and whatnot. But
it's the way they change the choreography.
Exactly.
Too.
It's the actual moves that are the same, but in the way they shoot it and portray it to us differently with editing, which is different. But because we look at that stuff, I'm looking at fight choreography, and I was just kind of surprised that, oh my God, I've seen this already. This is all in the end. Why is this here now? That's what I was really surprised at. And that doesn't ruin anything, but as somebody who wants to appreciate all the fights in the films, when I saw that again, it almost kind of negates, like wanting to make that its own fight because it's essentially all the same moves that happen in the end.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't have that much of a problem with it. I did see that he does reuse some of the same movements.
It's all the big stuff. It's all the big stuff he does on Ken Lo.
Yeah. Especially towards the end, right?
Yeah. Like the wheelbarrow, the spinning behind his back. Basically, almost everything that he does in the middle fight scene when he's fighting the goons and he's unleashing drunken boxing. All that great stuff is just kind of repeated. I'm not trying to say I don't like it. I'm just surprised that they did it.
Yeah, I think if I had to kind of like jump on that wagon and say that, like if as a nitpick that too, I agree that the way the fight ends isn't as strong as how it opens. Yeah, because the way that the fight opens is so strong. Ken Lo looks so menacing. He is so fast, so flexible. And it's just a constant barrage of aggression that Jackie is like having to deal with. And I actually think like what's great about this final fight, this whole episode is just going to turn into us just talking about that final fight. It might as well be. What's great about that final fight is that it's paced so well. Like, like when I think back to like, no, God, we're going to go back to our staples, right? Raid 2, for example. Like everyone loves that final fight, but like it is just there's no breathing room.
Yeah.
You're so exhausted by the time it's over, which is kind of what Gareth Evans is like going for, or Yayan's going for, whoever you want to attribute it to. But like in this movie, it's like, okay, we need a little bit of a break. The audience needs to catch their breath. Set up the next bit of action in the scene. Like it's outside of the choreography itself, like just everything about it is done so well. The editing, the camera work, well, I mentioned the pacing. Everything's just done so well. And God, we're just gonna end up talking about the final fight scene. I don't want to just do that. I want to give the whole movie a good tribute.
Yeah. So is there anything of interest to kind of talk about with the story? Like, does this story interest you at all? Because it doesn't do too much for me. This isn't something that's
It's not complicated.
Unique. It's not complicated.
It's hard to explain.
Right. We get a weird cameo from Andy Lau as like, I don't know, like a CIA agent from Taiwan.
Is he even considered that? He's not really even a cameo. He was supposed to be a full-fledged character in the movie. And then when... So, a little more backstory. When Lau Kar-leung got canned during production, so did Andy Lau went with him. And that's why Andy Lau only has one scene, and that's it. He is, like, every shot that he's in, he's almost pegged like he's going to be a pivotal character in the movie.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, it seems like it. The way they're constantly lingering on him, and slowly interjecting himself into what's going on with Jackie and his family. It seems that way, but then once we get off that train, poof, Andy Lau's gone.
Yeah. Andy Lau and Lau Kar-leung left to go make Drunken Master 3. So maybe we can talk about that one day, which I heard was really not that good.
That, actually.
I heard that's not really that good. I have not watched that one yet. Although I'd really want to watch Drunken Monkey. I heard that one's... Well, I watched one fight scene from that, and that looks great. Anyways.
So I have a question.
Oh.
Do you know where Lau Kar-leung got canned or left?
Well, he only did the one scene, right? Or like the one set piece where they're filming at the train yard, or even in the train itself. Apparently, like an emperor, like the last emperor of China, like rode on that train. That's why they had to have this train in the movie. That's the only reason why we had.
Oh, I had no idea.
This whole train scene. Yeah, it's like a really small piece of trivia. Anyways, outside of that, I think Andy Lau he was supposed to have more scenes later on, but because of what happened, he's like, all right, I guess you don't have to film anything else with me in it.
So, like, what I'm trying to say is, can you tell? I mean, with the exception of the finale, can you tell what Jackie directed versus what Lau Kar-leung directed?
Not with the story, but I feel like with some of the action scenes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The action scenes, I feel very much so. Because, well, Jackie's, I mean, we're talking about like 94 at the time of release, so, film was probably in production 93. Actually, when they're talking about the making of, they said 15 years, not 16, so, yes, 93. And Jackie, he, at this point, he's what? Been doing a lot more like modern kung fu movies, like modern, like set in modern day. Like he hasn't done a traditional martial arts movie in a very long time. And Lau Kar-leung only does traditional kung fu films. So, like anytime you see a scene where Jackie's moving a lot more, like everything is composed like a traditional old school style martial arts film, it's like, oh, that's easily Lau Kar-leung's like direction there. And then anytime is like Jackie's doing a little bit more flair, a little more stunt heavy, a little bit more like abnormal, right? It plays out for the comedy, like that's easily Jackie Chan right there.
So I'm trying to figure out. So there is the one versus many. Well, it's actually two versus many fight in the restaurant or the tea house, the two-story fight. And I'm trying to figure out who directed that, because there are staples of both, Jackie Chan and Lau Kar-leung in there. Lau Kar-leung, I like his one versus many stuff. I think he handles chaos very well when it comes to multiple opponents, and he does lots of great stuff with weapon work. But then Jackie also has his style of doing one versus many, but it's more. It's a lot of like weaving and dodging and like evasive choreography. And so I'm not sure if like who's really controlling what in this moment. Yeah.
I mean, it could be a little bit of like butting heads, like they're both like working on it at the same time. Don't forget, like when that scene in the tea house happens, Lau Kar-leung was fighting on top at a certain point, and Jackie, like, he plummets, breaks through a table, and he's fighting on the bottom. So, like, they could have been filming those
separately.
not concurrently.
Yeah,
separately, exactly.
Well, then it's funny because after at some point, Lau Kar-leung gets stabbed in the back, and I wonder if that's supposed to be some sort of meta commentary, like, this is what Jackie Chan did to me, stabbed me in the fucking back, and now I'm out of the movie, right?
Hey, it's weird. Well, again, I don't know the timeline behind everything either, or production-wise, right? Lau Kar-leung obviously got fired part ways in. They wrote him out into the story. So, but I'm surprised that they actually brought him back.
What do you mean brought him back?
So, like, he has an intro scene, and he doesn't appear until maybe like 30, 40 minutes towards the end. He comes back.
Right, he comes
so,
back.
like, it's not like he got canned right away.
Yeah.
Like, he probably had a lot more story with him. And it's like, okay, well, let's wrap this up.
My guess would be he filmed the intro, and he's now just behind the camera filming everybody. And then because there are fight scenes in between, he's probably directing the fights, and he and Jackie are not agreeing. We then get to the tea house fight, and this is probably where they're really disagreeing. And then Lau Kar-leung's like, fuck it, I don't want to be in this movie. Hey, you, stab me in the back in this scene. 'Cause that's how I feel right now. This is all speculation, by the way.
This is a bigger production. They probably, this is all speculation, but they probably spent more time for the, just like in terms of pre-production planning. So, like, they probably did film things out of sequence, which might have attributed to, like, why the movie ends the way that it does, and why Lau Kar-leung had to die, his character has to die. Oh, spoiler alert! I guess we've been fucking spoiling this whole movie this freaking time. Obviously there's a conflict between these two, but it doesn't really detract from the movie. Like, it somehow it all works.
Yeah,
it
just works. I mean, I'm not the biggest. I don't have the best eyes when it comes to Lau Kar-leung's style. I just kind of, have high level and understanding of how he does things. So that's why I was kind of asking you, like, can you spot the differences? Because, like, I can't really, with the exception of the end when it becomes, when it just basically becomes Jackie Chan action. His trademarks of the stunts, dodging things, and then chaining together weapons into fights and into having these really, really nice compositions on screen. I mean, lots of people do that, but, like, he specifically goes for, like, filling the screen and making it feel like you're seeing something visually in the whole of it, as opposed to just maybe one little section.
We can talk about, like, the first fight scene where they're fighting underneath the train. I mean, like, they literally have, like, 3 back-to-back fights like, against one another, and all these are, like, clearly Lau Kar-leung. Like, that's his style. Like, it's way more traditional style. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like it's blocky. It looks like, I'm not trying to say that it looks like it's slow. It's not, but, like, you can definitely see moments where, like, you can see posing. Like, they're posing for the movements.
Yeah. So I guess before we get into the fights, are we going to go into any more detail about the story or any sort of summary for anything else?
I guess not. I mean, we should just talk about the film. Oh, I mean, we have been, but, like, in more detail. And this is normally where we talk about do a little stinger about how you should follow us on Patreon, where you'd be listening to our action breakdown, where we go into every action scene, fight scene, and we also give out a little bit more spoilers, a little bit more story beats, and our thoughts on them. This is what we normally do, but as our celebratory 200th episode, we're going to give it all that away for free today. So, yay. Yeah, you cheapskates, you get something for free today.
So if you've been listening to us, just the free version, and you've always wanted to know what that additional hour sounds like, well, here it is. You get to hear us ramble on more and more and more, hopefully enticing you to support us if you do like it. And if not, well, you still get free stuff anyway, so who cares?
Sure. Yeah, don't expect this every episode. But yeah, I guess we'll talk even more in detail about Drunken Master 2. All right, so we'll try to do this movie some due diligence. Again, I don't think that the earlier fight scenes are bad at all. I think they're worth talking about. But at the same time, I don't want to bore everyone with a 4-hour episode, because you might as well just go fucking watch the movie. But maybe we can provide a little insight, as we would normally do, in terms of how the choreography is broken down and such. Yeah.
You don't want to talk about how Jackie Chan throws a bunch of ducks at the rich elite, British people occupying the train.
No, but I really want to talk about him playing Chinese chess. That's a really good hand that he had over. No, I don't know the first thing about Chinese chess. Anyways, yeah, they're on a train, and Jackie and his I guess his sidekick, or not really, an underling of his, go into the back. And Jackie discovers that there is someone stealing artifacts, or no, not artifacts. Someone stealing luggage, and Jackie immediately gives chase because he is a noble person, I guess. But
no, he gives chase because he stole the box of ginseng that was in that luggage that he put there to try and avoid paying taxes for it.
Oh, I missed that detail. My Chinese is only so good, apparently. Anyways, yeah. So he gives chase, and Lau Kar-leung he slips underneath the train, and Jackie follows him there, and we get our first fight scene. And you would think that it's just the fight scene, but no, it's like one of several in a row.
It's one fight, but it's broken up into 3 different sections, surprisingly.
Yeah. Lau Kar-leung just happened to know that we're going to end up here because he knew to grab the spear that he just had hidden underneath the train. It's like,
oh, you're right. Yeah, that spear comes out of nowhere. And we get a fight, and I like the idea of this a lot, actually. You're fighting in close quarters. They're literally underneath the train,
well, they're
right
ducking
on top
the
of the
whole time.
tracks, and they are just crouching on their knees. And so, how do you fight like that? You don't fight very comfortably, but it creates really good visuals because you need a very, very wide camera in order for that to look nice. And it is the widest of lenses when they have these kind of profile shots.
Yeah,
and they're just kind of going back and forth, left and right, with just so much choreography. This is really evident of Lau Kar-leung's fight choreography. He goes to fucking town when it comes to number of combinations with weapons on screen.
Yeah. And I think we can definitively say for sure that any scene with Lau Kar-leung fighting in it, that's him directing the action there. It's pretty clear, and then this is very wushu inspired, right? So Lau Kar-leung has the spear, Jackie has a hold of a Chinese jian or Chinese broadsword, so they're just fighting, and Jackie's moving surprisingly very much like how I expect Jackie Chan's style of weapons play to be. It's very I wouldn't say, maybe erratic's not the best way to describe it, but it almost feels like he's moving it more whimsically, more fancifully, almost he's great at it but not good at it at the same time.
It's also because because of the Chinese sword he has, it's that kind of floppy sort of one. So when he moves it, that thing is kind of wiggling all over the place, and it's adding a little more visual to what he's doing. It's adding more flair, literally he's doing these wushu type moves where he's swinging it over his head or around his neck and whatnot.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this first segment, I thought that anyone would imagine that this would just be the end of the fight. Lau Kar-leung leaves when he kind of disarms Jackie, but Jackie's no, like we're gonna continue this, and now they're fighting underneath like these rafters, I guess.
In another like kind of not close quarters, but they're still semi-kneeling, and all the wooden, I don't know, cylindrical planks are around them. So it's a nice kind of setting because they're kind of fighting around it. And Jackie Chan looks, I don't want to say he looks sloppy, but he's like going overboard with the wushu kind of movements, and it's making him look almost like incompetent as a fighter, but it's kind of funny at the same time.
Right. Well, Jackie's always had this very physical presence when it comes to the choreography. Not just his movements, but like his face. He is such a emotive person when it comes to his fight scenes. Like he sells this like oh my god, I don't want to get hit, but I'm gonna end up getting hit or getting hurt kind of expression on his face at almost at all times. And he's a really good like physical performer, like not just literally doing the choreography, but I mean like him selling the direness of any action scene that he's in.
And they know how to cut to an appropriate reaction shot, and he knows how to physically emote like shock or awe or distress. His face is so emotive. Just echoing what you said. They have this great visual as well, because when the train departs or is starting to depart, the whole area they're in underneath these, I don't know, it's like a dock or something. It just fills up with smoke. It's beautiful. It just fills up the whole screen, and Jackie Chan is still like waving the sword around like an idiot, like, where are you? Where are you?
And the fight's still not over.
Oh my god, it's still not over.
Then we move into like this hut area where Lau Kar-leung was hiding. And Jackie, well, he kind of ambushes him, but he decides like to fight fairly. So they decide to fight, mano a mano, hand, like no weapons involved. And this is where I feel like it's a little bit more Jackie's influence here, or Jackie's style. But like even then, it's very much predominantly Lau Kar-leung's in like action direction here. Very much like, especially when it comes to like the single strikes that Jackie will do, is like a lot of wind up, a lot of striking attempts, and then Lau Kar-leung will see that telegraphed and block, like very old school kung fu film kind of style. But at the same time, like it's still plenty okay. I just think it's it's a good attempt at modernizing like the traditional like kung fu film. But this fight doesn't last super long.
Well, it's our introduction to drunken boxing.
Yeah.
And oh god, it's so weird. A lot of the things he does later, he still does here, but just like another variation of it. So they're teaching the audience about drunken boxing. If you know nothing about it, I get it's not like you need to see the first one, because he is kind of showing you these poses over and over and over again, so you have kind of an understanding. When he kind of bends his hand at the wrist and kind of puts his finger in a claw-like motion, that's when he goes into the drunken boxing pose, and he starts stumbling around like he is indeed intoxicated. It's not hard to figure out what drunken boxing is, but it's also important to let the audience understand, like, this is the visual, now this is a visual language, now we're going to kind of teach you it.
So I'm going to go a little tangential for a second here, because in like recent years, especially when you like now that a lot of like people are coming, kind of like divulging a little bit more information, like how Jackie's films were made, we discovered that Jackie, obviously he didn't do all the stunts, right? But like it's kind of alarming like how many stunts that he didn't do. Not to put him down in any ways, but he, like, a lot of times when people talk about like, oh, remember that big jump that Jackie did in Rumble the Bronx, so over from one building to the next, that wasn't him, obviously, but everyone always quotes it as if like Jackie did that. In this movie, Jackie does pretty much all his stunts. Like there's very few instances where it's not him, but they're definitely I can only name like one or two instances.
I was going to say, the big stunts, it is very clearly him because his face is in frame.
Yeah.
There's no way they could have hidden that with some sort of horrendous Jackie mask or some very, very bad 1994 Hong Kong CGI. So
Yeah. Oh my
there's
god.
nothing to take away from him here. He's doing almost everything. I didn't really recall any moments where he may have even needed to be
Yeah.
doubled.
Yeah.
There's like moves when he's doing some of the Drunken Master moves. Like when he gets, I don't know, when he's doing like the air flare stuff.
Sure.
I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe
okay,
that
sure,
isn't him
maybe.
because you don't see his face. So I'm guessing like, you know, maybe that's Chin Kar-lak, right? Because
Yeah,
Chin
he is in
Kar-lak's
the
this
movie, yes.
He's also a breakdancer. So maybe some of those more
He's also
B-boy
a crazy stunt person.
some of those b-boy moves maybe were him. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't doubt that Chin Kar-lak is or like it's dubbed in. Like anytime Jackie needed a stunt person, he was the guy to go to. But the reason I brought this up is like Jackie, like in this third segment of the first fight, he does like an aerial off of like a table, and he lands on his feet, and it's all in slow mo, and you see that's it, clearly him. That's clearly his face. Like it's glorious. And this is like in my opinion, it's the best example of like showing that like. Yes, it really is Jackie doing all these things, even though he's like now in his 40s. So like it's great. But anyway, story aside, like just to establish a little bit more about story, just to round off this first fight scene, they want to continue the fight, or Jackie wants to continue fighting, but he's going to miss his train, so we're gonna get cut off here, and yeah,
he also was it Lau Kar-leung basically says like, oh yeah, drunken boxing sucks. He's like, it's not good, there's no power. And this kind of gives us an insight into Jackie Chan's character. He's very brash, he's not afraid to pick a fight. It kind of goes against the persona he kind of created once he came to America of not wanting to fight. It's interesting here that he feels threatened because somebody is challenging his kung fu.
Yeah.
And so he wants to keep fighting Lau Kar-leung, and Lau Kar-leung's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I need to direct a movie, so I'm good.
Like, let me be in the movie less. And then Jackie's like, oh, okay, let me take you literally. When it comes to that. Fast forwarding a little bit more. Yes, so Jackie, unbeknownst to him, like accidentally has the artifact in his hand that Lau Kar-leung was trying to steal, and Lau Kar-leung has the ginseng that Jackie was trying to, recover. But anyways, so they almost get caught by the authorities for stealing the artifact, but Andy Lau saves him, and that there's no payoff for that because Andy Lau is no longer in the movie after this. Moving forward a little bit more, we get introduced to Anita Mui, who is I guess his stepmother, the best way to describe her character. Yeah. And I don't know, man. I remember watching this English dub with you in theaters, or maybe not you. And something's lost in translation because like her character is great. Like in the Chinese version, she adds a lot of levity to all her scenes. She's like a very very funny character. She can get kind of annoying at times, but while watching her in English, I'm like, she's kind of annoying.
Well, that's because you can actually understand the Cantonese. I can't. So I can't, it's a little hard for me sometimes to get...
Yeah, no, I get it.
...nuances with the acting.
So that's why I can't watch English stuff.
I know. But, again, for me, I didn't mind the voice actress who did her dub. And I thought she was fine. I thought she captured what she was physically doing on screen. Great. So in terms of what I can tell from her character, I thought it was similarly matched, although played up a little more for American audiences, obviously. Sure.
I mean, there's some wordplay that you miss out on the English dub, which is fine. I mean, that whole scene with them trying to pawn off this quote unquote ginseng to this client, but they just grabbed a radish that they found, like a daikon that they have in the backyard. Like that's all played for laughs, and I find it a lot funnier in Chinese than it is in English.
When I was watching that in the original language and reading the subtitles, like none of that was really funny to me because it's the literal translation of like what's being said.
Still too literal.
Yeah, it's hard to get these Cantonese jokes across sometimes.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate. Because I actually found that scene, entertaining, but I can see like how a Western audience might not get any value out of that. It's such a shame. Yeah, well, so just moving forward, I guess we can move forward a little bit more. There is another, what seems at first seems like a very irrelevant set in a metalworks factory. And you're just wondering, like, what does this have to do with anything that's happening?
They're
at first?
foreshadowing the issues with unions in the U.S.
Unions.
and around the world.
Yeah, just like Starbucks. This is the same thing as Starbucks. Maybe Walmart. This is not even close to Walmart. So the metal workers here, like, they are being worked to, like, basically work like in slave-like conditions. And they're trying to leave, but what looks like the actual villain of the movie at first, Ho Sung Park, he comes up to them and starts beating them up. He is so badass that he grabs a metal rod it's still inside the furnace with his bare hands and swipes at everyone, making their chest explode in flames. Yeah, but he is not going to be the final villain, of course.
It's funny. This when I see scenes like this, it almost takes me out of the movie because he beats up everybody in the factory to the point where they subdue and go back to work.
Yep. Yep.
Like, is that how that works? In order to get people to listen to you, you have to beat the shit out of them so that they can't stand, but then they stand up and do work for you.
Dude, if someone grabbed a metal rod out of a burning furnace with his bare hands, and that's the actual actor doing that, I would fucking listen to him.
Well, what also takes me out of it too is fucking dog pile. There's like 50 metal workers there. Why didn't they all just grab metal pipes and just start wailing
bum
on
rush him? Yeah. Yeah, because then we wouldn't have movies, Zero.
I know. Well, they should have taken a lesson from young Ip Man and just bum rushed them.
Oh God, the less we speak of that, the better. Yeah, so we get establishment of like evil white people because, of course,
The British.
The British, same thing. So they're in the movie somewhere. We're not fully aware of like what they're gonna do, but you know that they're there. They're just hovering in the back.
They want Chinese artifacts.
Yes,
goes.
But you don't know this at this point. You actually find out that detail much later in the film.
Do you really?
Yeah, much later in the film.
Okay. Oh well, then I spoiled it. Sorry.
Yes. Well, I mean, hell, fucking go watch the movie. Like we already said that. God, another character, Felix Wong, is a fish market fishmonger. Yeah. He is at the fish market and he challenges Jackie to a fight because of the jealous, because he is jealous of him. And they have a little sparring match. Doesn't really add much to the story, but we get establishment of like supporting characters for Jackie that will be important for later in the film. Yeah, so Jackie's not by himself.
Yeah, this was a little odd because I understood what they were doing here. They're introducing us to some characters that he may butt heads with, and they literally do butt heads with because he's jealous that this female character likes drunken boxing when he is interested in the female character. So he challenges him to a fight. And the whole time I was like, okay, yeah, like they're introducing him. But then later, suddenly, when they meet again, they're just friends. Like it didn't seem like that was the case. Like it almost seemed like they were enemies and he was going to turn into a friend. But no, he's just a friend.
Well, the way that this fight scene ends, just to jump, not to already jump to the end, but like it almost seems like they're just very friendly rivals. And they're, of course, like there is jealousy involved, but Felix Wong still has like a level of respect for Jackie and such. So like I
didn't get that. I thought for me,
is that missing in the English dub?
No, I mean I watched both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like what I got out of it was he realizes that he, is not really winning against Jackie. So he's like, okay, fine, whatever. You can have the free food, and we'll just, like everybody disperse, nothing to see here.
Okay, that's how you interpreted it. I thought of it as like, well, Felix Wong, like he himself, like as much as he wants to continue fighting Jackie, because like the fight didn't really have a clear winner according to him. Now he still respects him enough to be like, yeah, well, I'm a man of my word. Like I said that if you win the fight, I'll give you a free. Your groceries are free, basically. Yeah. So like, yeah, like cool. Like it's like, yeah, there's a friendly rivalry here. Like even though he's a supporting character and he's barely in the movie, like there's a bit of depth to him, which I like.
So this fight it's weird because he's trying to goad Jackie into using drunken boxing, and actually Jackie Chan does not use it. He's using just more traditional kind of martial arts. I think is he using Hunga here? I'm trying to tell because he's doing the claw, claw-like motion. And it's funny because at one moment he starts to twist his hand into doing the drunken boxing fist, and then just decides against it because I'm not sure. Like this, I feel like this is Lau Kar-leung's direction because it almost sounds like, off of the information I read, Lau Kar-leung didn't want to have drunken boxing in this movie, even though this is Drunken Master.
Wow, I did not read that. But yeah, I mean, obviously Lau Kar-leung has his style. Lau Kar-leung himself is a Hunga specialist. Wang Fei-hong, who supposedly has a lineage in Lau Kar-leung's family, his ancestry apparently, it was a Hunga specialist. So obviously, there's a bias towards Hunga, and this fight scene is like a Hunga kind of style. But like story-wise, like Jackie's not supposed to engage in terms of fighting. Like he is just sparring, but he's not going to go into lethal force or show off drunken boxing because so many eyes are on him as well. Yeah, well, his father forbade him from fighting.
Yes, I mean he'll fight Lau Kar-leung under a train because who the fuck is watching him? At this point, there's a crowd forming and they're just going at it.
Right. And now, I mean, we get established of that like much more later on. Well, one thing I'll say about this fight scene, which it isn't too much to note, maybe two things. One is that it makes Jackie look like a badass again because like he might be getting older, but like he's still very nimble, and like we get these really like nice poses that he does. Not too noteworthy, but it's something to note. But also Felix Wong, he is not a martial artist as far as I can tell. I kind of grew up watching his shows on TVB, and like he's a phenomenal actor and singer. But here, like he doesn't do anything crazy, but like he's keeping up with Jackie. So like a good direction in the movie, action direction in the movie is making a non-martial artist look like a martial artist. So giving the movie some credit there.
So one thing I'll note in the English dub of this, Jackie is playing more towards his American persona, where he's the kind of guy, I don't want to fight. I think he says like, I don't want trouble. Actually, something along those lines. I was like, oh no, don't do that. And he's trying to be the humble person in the fight and being like, oh no, thank you, no, I don't want to fight, trying to get away and whatnot. So this kind of leads into the English dub again, where they change the score and they change the sound effects for the fights.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a fan of the 90s sound effects, you may not like the English dub because the sound effects here sound a little more modern. But it changes the some people have said it like kind of changes the rhythm. I don't know if I hear that. I kind of like the sound of the modern sound effects a little bit more. But the change score is a little too much.
Okay.
And I'll just mention.
Is it like heavy? Is like new metal? Yeah.
Oh my god. No. So this is not. So this is like 94. When did this come out?
94. Yeah.
No. I'm thinking like when did the dub come out?
Oh, it must have been 2000s.
Yeah,
right?
somewhere in 2000. Yeah. So this sounds like they took like the Mulan soundtrack, or even like notes of Crouching Tiger. Actually, this was probably before Crouching Tiger.
Well, I'm after the success of Rush Hour, right? So this must have been like maybe 99.
This sounds like
2000.
Rush Hour. Yeah, like there's so many Chinese flutes, excuse me, everywhere in this. It sounds like
patronizing.
I don't know if I would say patronizing. Listen to it. It sounds like the Kung Fu Panda soundtrack.
Okay. Interesting. No, I guess I've only watched the English dub the one time with you, and again, I thought that was kind of blasphemous. It wasn't that bad, but like it wasn't what I was accustomed to.
The issue sometimes with the soundtrack is they will dictate how you should be feeling.
Of course, yeah.
Through the fights or through the comedy, they will make things sound sillier when he's doing the, Buster Keaton like pantomiming during certain scenes.
Oh, sure.
Or they will add more Chinese traditional instruments when it's like, oh, he's like with his family and whatnot. So yeah, they're being too on the nose with dictating the mood of the film.
Well, just to like kind of agree with you in certain aspects. Like there's one specific thing that I think that the original version does not do so well. There's one particular score that they play like in this one particular fight, and they play it towards the end of the movie too. Like it makes everything sound really dire. I have no idea how to best explain it. It's like a very I don't know. It has like a grave tone to it, where like, well, the action hasn't really. It doesn't really fit that. Like Jackie's moving a lot more silly now. So fast forwarding a little bit, Jackie, he's fighting multiple people here, right? And
so we're talking about the scene where the men steal Anita Mui's purse.
Yes, and we'll talk about them more in a second. But when he's fighting them, like he gets a hold of some alcohol, he gets really intoxicated, and he fights them, and immediately the score changes to be like this really like almost somber, grave kind of score to it. And I always thought that was really weird, especially since like he's moving more silly. He's a lot more like he's not as rigid as he was before. So I expected a little bit more of like a wacky tone to it. Playful is a good way to describe it. Whimsical, yes. Yeah, like I always thought that was weird, and they redo that score at the end of the film too. So I always thought that was really strange. Maybe they updated that in the American or Western version of this release. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure like with modern interpretations or adaptations of the film, they might have been better with the timing of the sound effects. That sometimes the hits, they don't match with the actual hits themselves. Like on screen, you see like a punch, and they maybe, or like one or two, you'll count 3 hits, and you'll hear like 4 hits, and like that doesn't add up. Like, there's like a disconnect there, right? Yeah. But anyway, sound design aside, and which is a very minor gripe of mine. Yeah. So this next fight scene is, let's set it up. Anita Mui has her purse taken from her, and there are some goons with Ho-sun Park in it. By the way, did we mention who Ho-sun Park is?
You mean the character?
No, the actor.
No.
That's Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat 1.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's the actor in the video game.
Oh, the video game.
Yeah,
oh, shit.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So apparently, right after this movie, after filming this movie, he went back to the States because he's a Korean American. He went back to the States to do the mocap for Mortal Kombat 1. Right. So it was like pretty much back to back. So it's like, damn, where the hell was this guy in his career? After that.
Oh, I'm like looking at his face now, and I'm seeing him on the side of the. The Mortal Kombat cabinet, beckoning with his hands out.
Yeah. Anyways, so Ho-sun Park, he gets shoulder brushed by Jackie as Jackie's trying to stop this mugger or pickpocket. And because Ho-Sung Park, well, I mean, Ho-Sung Park actually is in cahoots with the pickpocket, but whatever. He turns this into an opportunity to confront Jackie in a fist fight, and he sicks all his henchmen on him. So that's what is the context for why we have our next fight. And Jackie's, defending himself with more like traditional style movements. None of the audience or people, the bystanders, are impressed by this. But Anita Mui is what we would call
opportunist.
No, well, what we would call a horrible influence when it comes to alcoholism, because she enables
She's
the
an
alcoholism.
enabler. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, she wants to create a spectacle that would then bring more people to her husband's, I don't know, medical facility. Pretty much. Yeah. Like, hey, look, my son is good at drunken boxing, associated with, I don't know, pain associated with going to seeing my husband, the doctor. I don't know what her plan was.
Right. There. I don't know. She just wanted attention, which is fine. Like it's played for laughs. Like you like her character enough, like that you're like, okay, I can understand like what she's trying to do, especially with all the bystanders like saying like, oh, drunken boxing is not so great. Let me show you some shit. Let me show you like what drunken boxing is all about. She grabs a whole like all the Hennessy's that she could get a hold of, and tosses it at her son or stepson, and yeah, actually, it's weird. Like I've said this in the past. Like I don't normally like it when you break up a fight scene. What would normally feel like one long fight scene, with like moments in between, and then jump back and forth, right? But here, it actually makes a lot of sense. Like yes, like Anita Mui is off grabbing the alcohol, and she comes back, and yeah, Jackie's now a completely different location, still fighting those dudes.
Yeah, I personally didn't like that though, because I like what he's doing. It's your typical Jackie Chan stuff where he is grabbing an item, it's spitting fast, he's using it as a distraction, bopping some guy in the face, moving on in a nice flow into other moves, into chaining it into more choreography, just everything he's known for. And then we have to cut back to Anita Mui. Her jaw is kind of broken and off kilter, and she's talking really weird with her friends. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
It kind of takes this. It doesn't take me out of it, but I just wish like we didn't have to keep on cutting back to her.
Right. No, I get it. Like, I mean, maybe that stuff, is a little bit overkill. It's like it's kind of a tiny bit of forced comedy. But when it comes to like her grabbing the alcohol, that totally makes sense. Like, we need to cut away to her doing that, because we need to show like, okay, this is like, we need to show a before and after, like how Jackie moves once he's actually drunk. And like once he smashes those two bottles together, he's just. It like maybe like 20% of all the alcohol is pouring down his face is actually going into his and the other 80% is just like on his trousers.
So now we're finally seeing drunken boxing with Jackie Chan being actually inebriated.
Yeah.
So do you know the story behind the look that he created when he gets inebriated?
Oh yeah, he was he was doing like headstands.
Yeah. I was
before watching, every time.
I know, it's so fucking crazy. Yeah, I was watching his English interview, and in order to get that look, he would basically hang upside down, either do headstands or just kneel and put his head down. So the blood would rush to his face, thus turning it red.
Yep.
So he would give off the look of intoxication. And the reason he did this is because they couldn't paint his face red, because after so much filming, the makeup would run. So they had to, he decided like, all right, well, I'm just going to do this. But he had to do this for every take. Whether
every shot,
whether it was a good or no good, he had to do it. And oh man, like that must have been so frustrating. Like I can't imagine having to do that and then also remember the choreography and then and then direct it later in the film. It's fucking crazy. His commitment to the visuals he's putting on screen, it's just fucking amazing.
No, it really sells it. I now that I think more and more about it, I'm like, he didn't have to he didn't think about this when, like, back in '78 when he filmed the first one. Like, yeah, he sold it in the movements by itself, but it's so great that, like, there's a lot of forethought into, like, okay, yeah, like, we want to make sure that he really looks like he's drunk. So, like, Jackie, like, get your face red somehow. Yeah, there was a lot of thought behind it, and I do appreciate the, you know, like, the final product. Like, every shot that he's doing real, like, drunken boxing while intoxicated, it looks, like, realistic enough. But at the same time, Jackie's moving so, like, carefully, and so, no, not carefully, but, like, his choreography is so, like just perfect. Like, he's hitting all his marks.
Oh, it's so precise.
Precise, that's the word I was looking for. Yes. That it's like, it's, dude, after a handstand, I can barely, like, walk to the kitchen. Okay.
It's
but
weird,
yeah,
because I mean, I understand this is a film, this is fight choreography. You want clarity in your shots.
Absolutely.
But if I'm thinking of drunken fighting, I'm thinking of somebody really stumbling all over the place and just being like a goddamn mess everywhere.
you know, like, the only thing that this movie is missing that was Jackie's downfall is just, like, a bouncer. Because, like, we all know that the weakness to every drunken fighter is just
it's
a bouncer.
They should have had a bouncer to the metalworks factory at the end. There would be no Ken Lo fight.
Yeah. Tickets, please. What? You're not paying the cover? All right, you can't come in here. Anyways, the final fight. Not the final fight. The current fight we're talking about here. I do like it. Like, yes, you mentioned before that there's a lot of repeated like, movements that he does later in the film here, but I don't mind it. Like, this is just, it still feels like a good like a taste test of what you're getting in the final fight, because we haven't seen Jackie go all out with, like, full aggression. Like, you know, like, we might have gotten a little bit of, like, a sampling of his drunken boxing before, but here he's really, like, going at it, you know, and he's doing it in multiple different ways. Like, even though, yes, like, things like his jumping, spinning skull bash and his what are some other moves? His bending backwards and grabbing the throat, like, those are all repeated moves. But, like, I guess I didn't have so much of an issue with it.
So I have a question now. Do you think he's on wires for some of this stuff?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
If I wasn't gonna bring it up now, I was gonna bring it up later.
So it's weird because apparently, I mean, I don't have any citations for this, which I think the internet is really annoying about. But apparently, one of the reasons why he and Lau Kar-leung didn't get along is because Lau Kar-leung wanted to use more wires on stuff, and Jackie didn't.
Yeah,
but Jackie's clearly on wires here, so I'm wondering, like, okay, is this Lau Kar-leung dictating that, or is Jackie like, no, actually, and this is my thought, Jackie's erratic movements and weird drunken poses work really well with the wire assistance.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Makes him look like he's almost falling over in this unnaturalistic way, but because of the drunken strength he's got, he's, like, kind of stiff and holding himself up. It adds to this, like, visually, like, interesting look that's going on here.
Yeah. Well, like that moment when he kind of, like, does a falling, like, he has his back on someone's back. That dude gets up off of him, and Jackie's just kind of suspended off of his feet. He's, like, basically doing a back bend without using his hands. Like, that's not physically possible.
Of course. I don't.
But
mean
like, that sells to it.
I don't mean that though. There's moments when he's doing the drunken pose with his, wrists and his fingers kind of curled. Yeah. And you can see it's almost like someone's pulling on a wire to give him this weird erratic movement. And I like that. I think that that is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things that, like, it's sold because he is on wires, and then other times where I'm like, I don't even know if he is on wires on that, because he does this 540 kick, and I was like, oh, I made this comment a couple episodes, like many episodes ago, about Jackie. Like, he's known for a lot of things, but not for his kicking prowess. But watching that, I'm like, God damn! Like I take that back because he has this crazy height. I don't know if it's wire assisted, but I'm gonna give him the benefit and say like it's not, and he just has crazy air when he does it. But yeah, like I do agree with you all in all. Like the wires do help in certain aspects. What I'm imagining is that when it came down to their disagreements on like using wires, it's like using them appropriately, like where they disagreed on. Like Lau Kar-leung probably wanted it to happen more frequently, almost like a more traditional wuxia film.
Oh god, imagine if Jackie was like flying through the did a
God.
jumping drunken sidekick
Jesus.
on wires. Oh god.
Like his later films, like his more recent films. Oh jeez. Anyways, yeah, no, I like the way that he dispatches that it's very inventive in terms of like some of the movements here. Like there are some things that are unique to this fight alone, like the when someone just grabs a bench and just like starts wailing at him with it, Jackie gets a hold of it, spins it around. He does like a front roll on it. You can see in the outtakes that he messes one of them up and he falls over and like spikes his back on the side of the bench. This is not the bench, a stool. These are like really
wooden stool in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Hong Kong martial arts movies. It's like
Yes.
everywhere. You can't like unsee it.
Yeah, I mean, I just generally love the, I love everything I'm seeing here. But yeah, like this is just a taste test of everything that you see, that will be amplified even more later in the film. And then his father shows up, obviously distressed to see that his son is not only drunk but fighting people, which he told his son not to do. And the father's played by T. Long, who is a Shaw Brothers veteran. And he doesn't do a lot of fighting in this movie. Like what little fighting he actually does, it's very much like the Chow Yun-fat in Crouching Tiger's effect, which is do as little as possible to show that you're a badass.
Yeah.
Right. So and it's actually it's interesting because Jackie is pulling off some of those repeated moves that you mentioned before, and T. Long knows exactly how to block every single one of them.
Yeah, I like that actually. I thought that was really interesting, and
Yep.
I was almost hoping for, maybe not, but I was wondering if there would be moments where he actually needed to fight his father. But I think the way they did it was correct. He does moves to negate what Jackie's good at very simply, and that just tells us immediately, like, oh, okay, he is the real, like, quote unquote master.
Yeah. I love that. It would be sold even more if T. Long wasn't only like 7 years older than Jackie. One thing I will say though, was because you said like, oh, you're hoping there would be a fight between T. Long and Jackie. Well, there is a fight between them, but not a...
I don't know if I would say it's a fight. It's more like a beating.
Yeah, it's more like a beating and a abuse scene. Oh, well, I can't even call it abuse.
Yeah, if you are...
It's a verbal fight.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like, I think maybe younger people will see this as... like a very like domestic, not even is it domestic violence?
It's just domestic violence.
Yeah, this is domestic violence. But your parents used to beat you back in the day when you didn't follow the rules. They beat you. They beat your mom. They beat
you remember
dog. They beat everybody.
Oh God,
it was horrible. Horrible time.
Oh, the good old days. Do you remember when people said like when you caught your child smoking cigarettes? You just make them smoke the whole packet, the pack. That was like the old school way of like dealing with that.
To deter them from smoking, you basically put them to overkill.
Yeah, so T. Long is so pissed off at Jackie, he makes him drink an entire keg of wine, Chinese wine. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like I can barely have like a shot of Baijiu. He's making him have an entire keg.
Well, this whole scene now, it's played for comedy because Anita Mui is trying to calm the husband down because he is just fucking livid. Jackie broke the rules. He now found out that his bonsai has been fucked up. Jackie Chan is drunkenly kind of laughing on the floor. Anita Mui is like fake crying, which is really funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, this whole scene is pretty entertaining, and she drops the bombshell that she's pregnant. Is that?
I don't think she is.
See, that's what they never confirmed that later because it just never goes anywhere. But she says like, "Oh, you're hurting me and the baby," and that helps to calm the father down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just in the back of my mind I keep thinking about Jackie's brother who is 40 years younger than him. No, I always found this scene very weirdly, like, it's tonally all over the place. Yes, it's trying to be undercut. They're trying to undercut some of the drama with some levity that Anita Mui is providing.
But then.
Yeah, but then it gets like very heavy-handed.
Oh,
like
God.
His father just berates him because like he's saying, well, because of your actions, you could have killed one of my clients. Like it's like your horrible son starts beating the shit out of him.
It goes into slow motion of him beating his son. You're just like, oh, this was funny. This was kind of funny, and now it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and as soon as Jackie retaliates, like he gets kicked out. Like it's dragged on. It's like it's an emotional low point for Jackie's character, but it's like, oh man, it's like super heavy-handed. And then after that, Jackie is ousted. He's in the he's drinking alone, and he gets attacked by Ken Lo and Ho-sun Park's men. And like Jackie was told never to fight again, so he gets basically beat up. And he
also gets beat up because he's beyond the point of normal intoxication. He's he's blackout drunk at this point. And I like the subtle comedy here because Ho-sun Park and the gang, they're afraid of Jackie Chan because he beat them up using drunken boxing, and they see he's drunk. And Ken Lo's like, what are you talking about? And like they're hesitant to move forward, seeing him drink. And Ken Lo's like, I don't know, you guys. I think he's okay. I think we can just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. I'm very curious. Like, at this point, so Ken Lo was introduced. Like, he was in previous scenes before too. Like, he was talking to the evil white people in the movie.
The evil British.
Yeah. So he but at the same time, like Ho-sun Park was a very prominent character in the movie. You don't really know yet like who the real main boss in the movie is yet, but at some point hands had to be shifted, right?
Yeah.
And from being a co-directed by two folks to just being handed entirely to Jackie. So at this point I'm wondering like if Lau Kar-leung already knew like, okay, I'm out of production at this point. Like let's just wrap, like, film my scenes, these next upcoming scenes, and then that's it. Let's just call it wrap up the project.
Yeah.
For like at least from my end, because Lau Kar-leung, his character comes back to confront Wang Fei-hong, and Anita Mui has a fight with Lau Kar-leung in basically the front steps of their home. And I'm surprised because but it's also a little bit inconsistent because I couldn't tell before that Anita Mui knew how to fight, because every scene before that where she says like, oh yeah, I taught Jackie everything that he knew, like it's played for laughs. You're not supposed to take that seriously, but here she's actually fighting.
Yeah, she does a decent job. I mean, she is a Canto pop star, so I think she has some dance choreography.
No, I mean like consistency with the character is what I find.
Oh, the character. Okay.
Yeah,
because she clearly gets doubled, but they're they know how to frame her and use edits to make her look capable, and wires as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. With all that said, like Jackie comes back, comes into play, and has a very small amount of exchanges, and then T Long and before T Long comes out and has a fight with Lau Kar-leung. None of this is really too much to hone in on. This is just to say that there is a little bit of choreography here. before we move on to our next fight scene. All the characters, they get on friendly terms. Lau Kar-leung was basically just here kind of giving a rundown, like, oh, he's just here for the artifact. And he's basically saying like why, like that this artifact is important. And they show Lau Kar-leung and Jackie has a little like nice peaceful moment in a tea house. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
And
then
that
they
is
suddenly notice, hey, where'd everybody go? This whole fucking tea house, the whole town is like essentially empty.
Yep. And this is what I suspect was what Lau Kar-leung wanted to be. Actually, this is my this is my suspicion of what actually happened. Lau Kar-leung still wanted a final fight scene. I think it was supposed to be the Metalworks factory, one on many, right? Jackie was gonna fight a whole bunch of folks, but because Lau Kar-leung, because Jackie didn't want that, as a compromise, this is the scene that we got.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, this is my speculation. Mm-hmm. It's not like Lau Kar-leung was like, well, Jackie was like, fuck you, Lau Kar-leung. 36 Chambers of Shaolin wasn't that good anyways. No, he's like, I will give you, I'll throw you a bone. I'll give you a fight scene that's like kind of what you wanted. So it's this fight that we have in this tea house where the Axe Gang accosts them or ambushes them, and they're basically trying to defend themselves as best as they can. I've never thought this fight scene was great.
Really?
It's a little too much. It's just too chaotic for me.
I like that, actually.
Okay.
I've always been a fan of how Lau Kar-leung does group fights. Like, I think he knows how to handle the chaos and keep it very clear where everybody is and diminish the numbers so that it doesn't just turn into suddenly everybody's gone and we beat them. Like, you can see, you can see the foes slowly being taken out. And as well, he knows how to create space so that they're never getting dogpiled. They're always doing these circular like moves so that people aren't just coming from all angles. He knows how to block an entrance like the staircase so that he only has to funnel in one person at a time. Like, I like the thought process and his direction behind the fights like this. But just to reiterate, like, I don't love the scene, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate the direction. Like, all those things you said are very true, right? So a common complaint we have in action scenes is like, yes, there's too many people in the scene wherein you're just constantly questioning, what are those extras doing in the back? Why don't they just start stabbing him? Yeah. Whereas, we're addressing that. Like, Jackie is like wildly just like turning himself into like a human tornado with two stools in both hands, like a stool in both hands, and just like keeping people at bay. Like, yeah, we're addressing that. Like, and the camera's cutting just enough where it's finding that right balance where you're not thinking in the back of your head, like, what are those people in the background doing? Because we're keeping them out of frame. Yeah. No, you're right. Like, it's done very well. But in terms of like things I hone in on, there's not too much. I'm like, oh, that was a great moment. Well, I like
this scene's not meant for that though.
Yeah. I mean, I like the stunt work in here. This isn't more choreography based, I would say. This is more like it's like a physical spectacle because he gets a giant bamboo pole and then he's just whacking multiple people in the face, smashing their toes, smashing their fingers, just going AWOL. And then we got lots of nice little stunt moments here and there. People falling.
Crashing through stools.
Crashing through the ladders. He's hitting people who are standing like on this like banister and they're hitting the banister before falling down to the first floor. Like, lots of painful stunts. And
right.
Lau Kar-leung's final, big heroic moment before going out is he takes out the staircase, and oh boy, those poor stuntmen who have to go down it while they're all standing. Yeah, that does not look fun.
Right. There's like this very well, let's just call it like a glamorous moment where like it's supposed to like show off Jackie's like physique, I guess. Like when like Lau Kar-leung just tells Jackie like, take off your clothes, I'm gonna spit like wine all over your clothes and wrap up this bamboo that's been like torn to shreds because of like, all the damage that the axes have been doing to it, and it kind of turns the bamboo into like this very dynamic weapon.
Oh, I love that.
It's like yeah. It's great.
So I think the reason why logically I was trying to think, okay, why is he covering him in I guess like tea or alcohol?
I think it's alcohol.
And, like, I was trying to think, like, why is he doing that?
Always think alcohol.
Is he doing that to like make him more slick because he's using the bamboo and it's kind of like twirling around his body? But no, I think the real reason is because in the shot you see Lau Kar-leung spitting alcohol on Jackie Chan. And I think he was like, fuck you. I'm out of this movie. I'm just gonna let's do multiple takes of me spitting alcohol at you over and over and over again. Jackie's like, we got it. He's like, no, we didn't get it. He's just spitting alcohol.
Oh, I love that theory. That's great. Let me keep spitting at you. I mean, so one of the few instances where like you know for a fact that stunt people is when Jackie and Lau Kar-leung like they jump out the window, right? That's not them. That's clearly not them.
Of course not. Well, because when they jump out the window, they jump onto this, I don't know, like outdoor or like the roof of this straw hut, and then everybody fucking crashes down. Oh my god! All the fucking Hong Kong stuntmen, those poor guys.
Yep. Of course. Yeah, and so they get separated, or Jackie tells Lau Kar-leung to run ahead, but Lau Kar-leung gets ambushed in the alleyway where he gets shot by Ken Lo and gang, and his artifact is taken. So this is the big emotional moment where like, okay, Lau Kar-leung is dead, is out of the film because many reasons. For whatever reason, you.
Oh god, I love how he dies. He just kind of like keels over.
He's like, I need to be out of this movie now. Yeah, we get a couple of scenes like back to back where it's like it's a little much.
I really wish. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to infiltrate the British embassy.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Are they trying to steal back the artifact? Is that what it is at this point?
They're trying to find evidence of some wrongdoing, and both him and Felix Wong are here.
Okay.
But they get captured and tortured.
Oh man, so yeah, I feel like this was so unnecessary. I don't know.
Yeah. In a movie like this, yeah.
So I want to point out though, when they get captured, there's brief moments of them getting beaten up by men in a jail cell, and what's happening is they're tied up with ropes. So it's like they're giving them an opportunity to fight, but they really don't have the upper hand because the other fighters are not tied up. We saw that in Mr. Nice Guy.
We did?
Remember that?
Oh, I don't remember that for some
Mr.
reason.
Nice Guy, when he fights who's the final boss of Mr. Nice Guy? Jackie Chan is he's supposed to have a boxing match against him, but he is
Brad Allen?
No, it's not Brad Allen.
Why am I blanking? I'm blanking on this too.
Richard Norton. He fights Richard Norton. Mr. Nice Guy. And remember, he gets tied up with the boxing gloves on, so he can't like really hurt Richard Norton.
Okay. I do vaguely remember this.
Yeah, that's what they do here. It's very weird.
Yeah, well, they want to like repeat certain tropes here. I mean, this movie's supposed to kind of, in a way, supposed to be a celebration of Jackie. And by that, I mean, Jackie wanted to celebrate himself. So he's like, okay, Lau Kar-leung, you need to go. But we still, we have some more movie to go along with. Yeah, so Jackie, he and Felix Wong are captured. And in order for them to be released, his father has to sell his entire estate. Yeah, and it's like we get a couple scenes where it's like very dour, just showing how like there's consequence for Jackie's actions.
Well,
so
it's
Jackie's
a shame
supposed to
because
be.
we just got this scene already. So it's a scene
Yeah.
we skipped where Jackie was remorseful for being drunk, for getting beaten up. He's, I mean, it's actually really great acting. I never noticed it before, but he's like a mess. He's in tears.
Yeah.
He is ashamed of what he's done, and he doesn't want to face his family. Like I think a lot of people can understand that. So it's just him getting invited to sit down and have breakfast with his family, and it's just his head's down the whole time. He's so remorseful, but like, what's his name? Felix Wong is there, and that's where I was confused because his dad's like, "Hey, look, Felix Wong's here. You guys are friends, right?" I was like, "Wait, they're friends? Huh?"
Yeah, well, when you have money, you can use it to bail anyone out.
Sure.
So, we get a couple scenes where it's obviously very uncomfortable. Jackie's supposed to swear off of fighting ever again, but because there is another scene that happens here in the back to the metalworks factory, Chingarlock and a fellow coworker discover artifacts, a whole bunch of artifacts here. And they're all being smuggled out of the country, and presumably back to the British Empire, where all the white people are going to sell it. They're
going to put it in the British Museum, I think they said.
Oh, yes, something along those lines. And the Chinese are obviously basically every Jackie movie before 2008 uses something to this effect.
Well, I mean, even was it Chinese Zodiac had this kind of story too, getting back.
That's what I'm saying. 2008. Yeah.
Getting back the artifacts.
Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2.
Getting back the artifacts that colonizers have taken from China. So there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, just to talk about this scene in the metalworks factory, there's no Jackie in it, but we get some good stunt work from Chingarlock, who is one of the workers here, and it's always good to mention the amount of athleticism that he has. Just maybe not, he's not the greatest fighter on screen, but he's always been a great stunt person, and it's just crazy to me that one stunt where oh boy, I really wish I knew this actor's name, this really menacing the
ponytail
mini boss, the man with the ponytail, he tosses him out the window, and in the following shot you just see him Chingarlock crashing through the window, and before he can tumble over the railing and presumably onto a 8-foot drop, he grabs onto the railing, kind of just catches himself. That's pretty phenomenal. It's all done in a really nice slow-mo.
I wish that they didn't cut to the multiple angles. I wish we kind of just got to breathe and see him catch himself, because I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah.
But I actually liked him getting flipped on top of the table, and then he crashes through the table, and then immediately the guy axe kicks his chest, his fucking sternum. Yes, I'm sure he's wearing padding, but oh my god, that fucking poor guy. And I'll disagree with you. I think Chingarlock's awesome because I love Scorpion King. I love the fighting in that movie.
Oh no, I do agree. I agree with you. But I never found out he was the best fighter in the movie.
Well, I mean, because he never really got starring roles. I feel like Scorpion King, he did amazing, and then he just I don't know.
I can't wait till we. I can't wait till we talk about Kung Fu Stuntmen, because Kung Fu in that documentary, we really get to divulge into like how great of a stunt person Chingarlock is. Oh, yeah. But like I've never like he's like one of the greatest that's ever done it. But in terms of like kung fu or like fight choreography, maybe not so much. But not to take anything away from his like stunt abilities. But yeah, Chingarlock gets away.
Does that lead us to the final action set piece now?
Yeah, just to set it up, he comes to Jackie telling him about what's going on at the metalworks factory. Jackie didn't learn his lesson about not meddling. Yeah. And then we get to our final fight. And this is okay. Well, set a little more setup. There is one metal worker who is being held hostage. I think it's really bizarre that's actually the pretext behind it. Like they're supposed to save this one guy,
I
but like he
didn't
doesn't
even-
show up ever again.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that was a story. I just thought they're like, well, we need to beat them up because they're stealing our artifacts. And Jackie Chan's like, I'll do it.
Yeah, basically. Oh man, I really wish I got the name of this last the person I
mini
just mentioned
boss.
before.
Well,
The mini
he's
boss,
got he's got the metal chain. He's
Yes.
basically Indiana Jones because he's got the hat,
Oh,
he's got
okay.
the metal
Yeah.
chain, and then there's the fire going on behind him. I think they were
Yes.
visually referencing Temple of Doom there.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Like every time I watch this, I'm like, why does this feel like Indiana Jones? I mean, I wouldn't say that like the choreography is anything spectacular. It's really about the stunt work.
Oh yeah, I mean
Right,
the metal chain he's wielding as a whip is really on fire at times, and
Yeah.
he's just swinging it around, swinging that metal chain around, and Jackie
Right.
just has to fucking dodge it.
Yeah. The setting is so we're in the metalworks factory now, right? And the rest of the movie is the metalworks factory. And I'm always curious. Like I don't know anything about metalworking foundries or whatever. But I'm like, is there just supposed to be a wall on fire?
Yes.
Because that's what the background here. Like they're fighting, and there are moments where there's a serious danger because there is a wall full of coals that are on fire. Like the fire that is like rising up like 4 feet.
I want to
above
say
the wall.
that is the visual that they're going for. I don't know if it is indeed supposed to be like that.
Yeah. I don't know. This is supposed to take place in like the 1910s, 1920s. So who knows? But yeah, the fight here is just okay. It's a little slower pace because I think it's the limitation of the other actor, not so much Jackie. In terms of his movements.
Right. There's some decent exchanges, but I think they're not trying to chain too many complicated
Yeah.
moves together because he's almost like a brute. He's doing
Yeah.
the wild swings with the chain, and that's kind of mainly his thing. Like I mean, like when he's swinging it over Jackie's head and Jackie's ducking, I couldn't help but think, just aim lower, right? He keeps on swinging above his head.
Swipe downward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a really nice effect because like you really are seeing he's really swiping at that fire. But the things that come to my mind are like Jackie has his foot, so he's basically pressing Jackie against that flaming wall, right? And we're establishing that wall really is hot because Jackie is putting his foot against that wall, and you can see it in the wide shot later on that like it's fucking there's like smoke coming out of from the soles of his shoes. So that thing's really that hot. But I don't believe the way that he got out of it because in order to get out of it, he uses that same foot to kick that guy's chin.
Well, I was thinking, is that a nod to Chin Karloff or not Chin Kar to Lau Kar-leung? Because Lau Kar-leung does that, the shadowless kick.
Oh, it may be. But that doesn't make any sense. He's using all the pressure. He's putting all the weight on that leg. How does he kick?
How does he then make it like shoot straight up towards the guy's chin? It doesn't work.
That doesn't make.
It
any
only
sense.
works in the edit.
Yeah, exactly. It only works in the edit. So we're finally here. He defeats the last guy, and now we're in our final room, the final area. He takes on some goons before he finally fights the final boss. But the goon, like here I see a lot more wire work, and I want to say that this is Jackie's desire to add the wire works here because I'm assuming Lau Kar-leung no longer has anything to do with the production now, right?
Yeah.
So
I
like
think not.
when Jackie's jumping up, doing those like jumping crescent kicks or any of those, like he's definitely floating.
Oh,
That's not him.
Yeah, I was kind of questioning that too. I was like, maybe Jackie just doesn't have enough confidence in his jumping, spinning kicks. So he's like, all right, well, just put me on wires so we can get the visual.
Yeah, well, again, I don't fully know how they filmed some of this. It wouldn't make any sense for them to have filmed this scene out of order with and without a director, right? Because So purportedly, everyone has said like this final fight scene took about 4 to 6 months to shoot. Right? Yeah. It wouldn't make sense for them to shoot like have them film here and then like have Lau Kar-leung leave like part ways through it. Actually, maybe like now I'll talk about it. Maybe that's exactly what happened. Like maybe in the earlier portion of this, Lau Kar-leung still had some sort of say in the production. And then, like, part ways in, when he left, it was like, okay, well, now we're gonna make it so that like Jackie's taking over the rest of the fight scene. That's my speculation. Because like earlier parts of it, like there's a lot more wire work. I'm like, okay, Jackie's not really the biggest, supposedly not the proponent of that. So maybe like Lau Kar-leung still had some say for the earlier portions of this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Hard to tell. But it's only for the jumping kicks where I noticed the wire work is obvious. So I'm wondering if he's just like, all right, well, I don't feel like doing a jumping kick today. Just put me up on wires. Get this out of the way.
Yeah. Good stunts works here too.
Oh
right?
God, the fucking it's so crazy because yes, we know Jackie Chan to be to kind of do some of these crazy stunts, and some of the stunts that are happening here is a giant metal barrel will fall from the sky, hit the ground, and he will narrowly move out of the way so it looks like it near misses him, because it really does near misses him.
Yep.
What boggles my mind is, like, why didn't they just make it like a tinfoil metal barrel? Like, I think they're using the real stuff there.
Yeah.
And it
looks like
because when it hits them in the outtakes, that looks like it fucking hurts. And I bet it fucking hurt. And for safety reasons, you would think like, well, why not just use a fake one, right?
Yeah, well, like as you're watching the edit that actually got into the movie, you can see when it hits the floor, there is a lot of dust.
Oh yeah.
So like implying that there's a big thud. So it's like, yeah, maybe they're trying to sell it, but yeah, I think they could have found something a little lighter.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Oh God, when it goes to that wide shot and he jumps backwards when his legs sprawl out, and I'm just like, oh, like you're
barely missing his gonads.
Butthole clenches just seeing this stuff. Like you love it. It's crazy that he's willing to do this kind of stuff on screen for our entertainment. But yeah, you kind of have to give it to him.
Yeah, I always go back to that. I forget which operation, which Armor of God movie it was. I think it's the second one where he gets knocked to the edge of the elevator, and then like he just all he does is just like tuck his chin up, or he lifts his chin so he can barely narrowly
I know which one
misses another elevator, like about to clip his face. Like I don't know how he does it or why he does it, but it looks phenomenal. And I can always commend him for his efforts.
So this fight with the goons here, this feels like a traditional Jackie Chan fight. Like I want to say, like he's very obviously directing it here because he knows how to chain the moves and the objects he's using to fight them all in this like seamless take, going from one person to another, and it just beautifully staged and beautifully composed. One of the standout moments for me is when he kicks a guy and Jackie falls back and the guy falls back, and the momentum from the kick causes the other guy's shoe to go flying.
Oh yes,
I was like, wait! I was like, holy shit! That guy's foot just flew. His shoe
that's
flew off.
Not obviously intentional, but hey, that actually sells it. Right?
And then I love how Ken Lo literally becomes a video game villain because he's standing on top looking down and he decides to start throwing literal fire at Jackie, setting him ablaze. No CGI fire at this time, so Jackie Chan is really getting fire thrown at him and then having to put himself out with dirt, in a mine cart to...
Right. If you see in slow mo, you can actually see that Jackie, like his hands are like his whole body, like from neck down, is just covered in that gel, that fire protective gel. Right. But like, what if Ken Lo missed and got his head?
I know. Yeah, that's very, very dangerous.
It's crazy because like Jackie gets lit on fire twice, like at least for now. And then, well, I mean, just to show that he's a good guy, like he's helping the other henchman get lit on fire. You know, a testament to like his character. You know, we need moments like that for a Jackie movie. He's a good person. But yeah, like he gets to the top rung and he fights. He's basically fighting 2-on-1. He dispatches of Ho-sun Park for a little while, before he continues this fight with Ken Lo, and yeah, Ken Lo, aka Jackie's bodyguard, aka a man I don't think had anything to do with the production, but he was brought on Jackie's insistence. And man, he fucking steals the show.
Oh yeah,
for the first portion of this.
It's so crazy. I think he trained for 3 months. He had to train for 3 months.
Yeah,
he was already skilled in Taekwondo, which shows. But I mean, you know, you need to learn on-screen fighting. And man, the guy's fucking natural. He's really good. And
yeah.
So this first part of the fight, when he fights Ken Lo, you know, he dispatches of the other guy because apparently he couldn't cut it. Ho-sun Park, unfortunately, he had sprained legs or something.
Ankles.
Yeah. And so this whole first section is basically Ken Lo saying like kicking, nonstop kicking, like doing these like weird erratic movements, almost like his leg is like dangling off of the knee, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's distracting, intentionally distracting, because you don't know how he's gonna release that you know, his foot. And I like how there's some thought into, okay, well, how can Jackie Chan defeat this guy who's mainly kicking? And basically he just closes the gap. He closes the gap and he basically kind of bear hugs him almost, because he's like, all right, well, I need to stop his legs. And that's exactly what he does, right?
It's great visual storytelling in terms of fight composition, because like as a audience member, like you're like you yourself, you're like, oh, you're overwhelmed by it. Like, holy shit, what are you supposed to do here? And it's like, well, yeah, it makes sense that Jackie would try to close that distance somehow. Maybe do like a tiny little like front bear hug just to prevent him from doing anything. But unfortunately, Ken Lo's taller than him, so that means he's got to get chinned in the eye. Get a couple eye pokes in there with his chin. I mean, like at a certain point, like Ken Lo is like so much dominating the fight that he's just throwing out a bunch of fakes, and Jackie doesn't know how to handle it. But yeah, like I love like some of the movements here. You know, like as the second portion of this, like after Ken Lo kind of like poses, throwing like holding his leg up in a perfect vertical line, which is clearly wire assisted.
Yeah, that needs to be wires. There's nowhere he can hold the split up like that. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but
it looks really good. Yeah, but after that, like, you know, like Jackie's starting to wisen up a little bit. Like it's not perfect, but like he'll notice like when Ken Lo does a jumping back kick, like Jackie comes in and blocks the move like at the thigh area.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's smart. You know, like he knows that like he still has to get in close in order to prevent Ken Lo from attacking, like, or his attacks getting the most effective damage on him.
But then so that leads us to our next, probably the biggest stunt. Film, right? Oh my god. This
one of many.
Yeah, one of many. This is fucking crazy. So like just before we get to the big stunt, like what's his name? Ho-sun Park is like swinging at Jackie with a flaming rod.
Oof. Yeah. Oh man. That's crazy to me because that in the following shot, like in the first shot, like when it strikes at Jackie's legs, like Jackie tumbles to the ground. He falls right onto the floor, and then you see Ho-sun Park, like he swings the rod downwards in a vertical strike. Jackie, and in the following shot, you see Jackie rolling out of the way. the rod hits the
wood.
the wooden wood, and you see it just erupts into flame.
So yeah, that thing was really hot.
Yeah,
It's
holy crap!
insane that they did. Oh god, the fact they did. Well, what's more insane is the next fucking stunt.
Yes,
Jackie has his.
Everyone knows about this one.
Yeah,
yes.
Jackie's back is to a bunch of flaming hot coals, and Ken Lo kicks him onto them, and he falls onto his butt and his hands.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's terrifying to watch. And the fact that he did that twice because he didn't like the first take is just blows my fucking mind.
Right. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Like, how come Jackie didn't go with the like just show both takes kind of thing that he did, similar to what he did in Project A, right? You know, like because we are seeing him stumble backwards in multiple shots, like going from one end of the coal pile to the next end. But like, you know, if you remember Project A, it doesn't make any sense in the final product, but they actually showed all three versions of Jackie and or Chingalok like falling down those awnings. It doesn't make any sense because all three versions of that made it into the final film, but you don't care.
I think I have a feeling we're seeing multiple takes of that here.
You think so?
I think so. What
it's actually kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to tell. I mean, you know, we're probably seeing the best in the film. And then maybe we're seeing the other unused ones in the outtakes.
Sure.
You know what's kind of crazy too is, and it's more obvious in the outtakes, when Jackie is stumbling back, he's like kind of kicking his feet up, and he's kicking some of the coals up. And like you can see like Ken Lo like really needs to get out of the way because like the coals are kind of getting kicked towards him.
Yeah, you can tell that Jackie is like covered from the neck down again in the fire protective gel. But you know, it only goes so much.
I know. You know, just to close it, what kind of makes me laugh too is like when Ken Lo kicks him over, he does a thumbs up. Thumbs up. Why does he do that?
Because you know what? I mean, like, yeah, I'm glad they kind of kept it into the movie because, like, yeah, you could say that he's signaling to Ho-sun Park's character that, yeah, like, I did it. But I think he's actually, like, doing that to the, you know, like, whoever's behind the camera. Like, I did it. Yeah, cool. Okay.
I think he didn't realize he was in frame, or like even the camera people didn't realize he was in the shot. But it looks so good because he gets it. Because it almost adds to the character. Like, he's a dick. Like, he kicks him into the coals and he's like, yeah, I did it.
Oh man, when Ho-sun Park like grabs another flaming pole like rod and just like starts like thrusting at Jackie. Jackie's like protecting himself with this wooden stool, all these wooden stools, and man, they're like watching that thing just like pierce through the chair and just barely missing Jackie's head. It's like, holy shit, that isn't a prop. That shit's real.
Yeah, oh god, so much danger. So now we come to the point where, alcoholism and is drinking way too much. It's not even alcohol, was it? Is it ethanol?
It's industrial alcohol, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, but not supposed to be consumed.
Yeah, used for igniting the flames of this metalworks. Showed to us briefly, the uses for it, and Jackie Chan has now decided to drink it because he needs to use Drunken Master boxing to power himself up, because he's basically getting his ass handed to him this whole time.
He sure came here with a flask, man. Anyways, but he's drinking what is supposedly very poisonous alcohol, right? Yeah. So not to be consumed. So he beats up Ho-sun Park after lighting his whole face on fire. I think after he gets he gets his face lit on fire, Ho-sun Park, it's no longer Ho-sun Park playing the character. It's like a stunt person. Like, even when you see the character's face, because now he doesn't have the eyebrows, he doesn't have like any facial features. I don't even think that's like him anymore. But anyways, he gets like pushed against. He gets catapulted into the underside of these stairs.
He gets clotheslined like from the back as he's pulled towards I don't know, this like kind of wooden edge.
So this erupts into our final fight between Ken Lo and Jackie.
Our final fight.
Yeah. So I can see where all your complaints, like, they are prominent here. Yeah, like, it is like some of these are repeated moves that you see earlier in the movie, but I mean, we still get enough variety here where, like, I don't really mind it so much.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's like a minor nitpick, but yes, you do see the moves again. But what works so well here is how he chains all these moves together.
Oh, yeah.
Because the fighting almost just never stops. It's insane. It's like 6 minutes. And I think, at least in the English interview, Jackie was like, yeah, for 6 minutes, it was like 4 months to film. And then sometimes on some days, like, they didn't even get footage. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, imagine shooting for 12 hours and, like, you can't even use any of it. That would have, like, frustrated the hell out of me. Right. Well, 2 days worth of material of shooting will sometimes only equal, like, what, couple seconds,
3 seconds, like 3 or 4 seconds of footage. So it's pretty nuts. Like, I'm glad that they went the extra mile, but, like, damn. And the whole theme here is that before Jackie was overwhelmed by Ken Lo's attacks, but Jackie's either just narrowly dodging everything or just taking everything head on.
Yeah, he is.
He's just taking full force.
Exactly. He's basically brute forcing Ken Lo at this point, because it's like, you know, Ken Lo might be the more skilled martial artist, but Jackie Chan is now powered up.
Was drunk
with alcohol, so he can't feel anything. So he's just like doing everything. He's doing all the moves. He's throwing all the cards at him. And it's just and he's wearing Ken Lo down. That's basically how he's winning the fight. It's not through skill. It's just by wearing him down.
Yeah. And one thing that we have not stressed enough about this movie, and especially with the action, is that it's fucking hilarious. This is hilarious.
Well,
like
it's hilarious.
like
it's
all
also
these movies.
Kind of scary how, like, angry Jackie Chan is at this point. Like, I love when he rushes Ken Lo. And you find out in the outtakes that they literally just butted heads and they, like, knocked each other out, and they're both bleeding, like, from the face.
Yeah. I mean, it's great timing. Just watching, like, Ken Lo, like, doing this, like, push kick. You see Jackie, like just pulled with a wire, like, just flying backwards, and, like, he just gets back onto his feet, like, as if it didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether or not the character is feeling no pain, like, Jackie's, like, going through hell to, like, get the performance right. I love the comedy here. Ken Lo is he has been doing this, like, very, like, snake-like movement where he just, like, darts his chambered leg, like, back and forth, like, so you don't know which direction he's gonna throw that kick, and Jackie just kind of, like, wisens up to it, and he just kicks that leg down. It's like, no, all right, my turn.
Right, pretty much saying, like, I'm on to your moves. Now I'm negating what you have. It's like, what else do you have? You know, this is when he just starts going full force all out on him. And, like, Ken Lo,
I love that he's
like on the defensive. Like, yeah.
Yep. I love that he does it himself too. Like, almost like he's, like, mocking him. It's even greater because, like, so, like, Jackie gets, like, he crashes through, like, this wooden crate that just happens to be there, and he just gets up as if it didn't even happen. And then, you know, at a certain point, Jackie's just trying to, like, do these really brute force headbutts. Like, he's just eating these kicks to the face as if they're not even happening to him.
I know, it's so fucking... It's hilarious because he's just, like, he's doing a headbutt and Ken Lo doesn't even have a kick there, but then he repeats it again, and it's almost like that's a mess up, but I think it works because he's supposedly drunk in this moment.
Right. Yeah. No, I love it. Man, this one particular stunt that Jackie does, it's not even that crazy when compared to everything we've ever talked about. But, like, Jackie goes in for that throat strike where he bends backwards, grabs Ken Lo's throat. But then when Ken Lo tries to swipe at Jackie, Jackie goes back into normal posture, and then he does a front flip. I don't know what it is. Like, that front flip just looks so beautiful. It is so well. Like, he sticks that landing so perfectly. yeah, I
Maybe it
don't
was
know.
Chin
Like,
Carlock. Maybe that's why.
you think so? Oh, no, it's not. That's definitely Jackie.
Mm.
Like when you pause it after he's done with it, like that's clearly his angry red face.
Right. Yeah.
After a handstand.
There's a few moves where I noticed like, okay, I'm not seeing Jackie's face, and he's doing some more like kind of like breakdancer type moves. Like he does a backflip, and then he does these kind of like air flares with his legs. I was like, oh, I'm thinking like, oh, maybe that's Chin Carlock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely Chin Carlock. He did that early in the earlier scene too. Man, I always thought this was weird, but strangely hilarious that at a certain point Jackie's just like blocking all this barrage of kicks that Ken Lo's is throwing, and Jackie just leaves.
Oh yeah, he leaves. He like smashes the wooden crate, and he's like, "All right, yeah, let's go."
Oh, I always thought that was so funny. It's so like out of place, but it works so perfectly because like now it's really intimidating to Ken Lo. And these really really nice camera angles that we get, showing like Jackie just like changing levels. Like he's just like ducking and like coming back up, like but not just ducking, like he's like spinning his whole body as he's dodging all of Ken Lo's movements. It looks really good, like especially the way that the camera's like kind of like angled up. Like I feel like the majority of this is played for laughs. Like it looks just ridiculous the way that Jackie's moving.
And I think it's just like the complication and the choreography here. He's just stringing everything all together, and it's flowing so nicely. And then he'll pose. They'll give us a break, then he'll go into the next thing. But he knows how to give us like these short little moments, even though this whole fight is constantly going. He knows how to give us like a few moves. He'll pose, he'll do something big, or he'll cut to a gag or like an expression, and then keep the fight going. And it just, we're constantly getting all these new angles too. So even though Jackie Chan generally does like these kind of static camera angles, like the camera is always moving around. So like we're not just seeing like one like profile shot all the time. Like the camera is like actually kind of orbiting a little bit. Like it's slowly moving towards like a different position.
Yeah, and like while this whole second segment of the fight is happening, like we actually are literally going from one end of the room to the next, so that has the potential of becoming really boring. But no, we actually make it very like dynamic. Like there's no single shot here where it's like it feels boring in any particular way, and I love it. Like, and yeah, like we are repeating certain movements like we said before, but like there's new ones too. Like yes, like he kind of finishes off the opponent with the wheelbarrow. He kicks him into a wall, and then he finishes him with like the back fall. But before that, like he does like really like inventive things. Like he's dodging a bunch of kicks by just like bending, like falling backwards into this wall and just kind of like rebounding off of it, like barely missing, barely dodging them.
Oh, it's almost like he's doing the worm off of the wall, like dodging Ken's kicks.
Yeah, not to be confused with the actual work that he does later.
Right. Oh man, but yeah, just to go back, so we do get a repeat of moves, but I'm glad it's changed. It's changed up. Like when he kicks Ken Lo and he flips away, this time he lands perfectly standing up, but smacks against the wall. Like that is a beautiful gag. Like I can't believe they got the timing and then like the positioning right, because like I can imagine they probably fucked that up a lot.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like they probably had that poor stunt person like
just kept on smacking his face over and over again.
Yeah, or maybe like the top side of his head kept hitting the wall because they couldn't get the rotation right.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be hard.
Yeah,
and then it ends, spectacularly. He lifts Ken Lo up, gets on top of a box, and drops him over his head, and he spins down and crashes into the grates.
Yeah.
Oh,
this one crate just explodes, and then that's how the fight ends.
I will say, with the English dub, with the score, it feels better in that moment because it recognizes that's the big moment, and it starts to build up with the music, and then it has a nice crescendo at the end. Whereas with the original score, like, it just ends, and you're just like, oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I don't remember that one so much. I feel like the Chinese one was appropriate enough, but I don't know. I guess I didn't draw much attention to it. And yeah, that's like how the final fight scene ends. One of the greatest fight scene ever. And if you're watching the certain editions of the movie, this is how the movie ends.
That's so crazy. They cut it right there, right?
They cut it right there. Jackie is still very inebriated, and he has a bubble that just surfaces out of his mouth because he is just that hot. Like, he's that drunk on alcohol, like industrial level alcohol. And this is, I'm glad they didn't, like the versions that I grew up with didn't have this following scene afterwards, because I always found this next scene to be like in poor taste.
Oh, I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, and I think what they were trying to do makes sense, because so apparently Jackie Chan, as he got older, he went back and watched Drunken Master and was like, oh my god, basically I'm just glorifying drinking alcohol, because drinking alcohol will make you a drunken superhero, essentially, right? And so what he wanted to do was say that the whole movie, alcohol is actually a problem for him, and it causes a rift between him and his family. And here in the end, his alcohol consumption has actually harmed his health, and it causes him to essentially be blind and, I guess, like, mentally challenged. Like, that's what they're saying. The problem is his depiction of this mental state he is in very poor taste, as he is pantomiming like he is mentally challenged. His eyes are crossed. He's, clapping his hands together. He's like, like ducking, doing like, crossing his legs. The visual does not hold up very well.
I'm going to quote Tropic Thunder: never go full Ben Stiller. It's not even that. Yeah, of course, like, it adds some poor taste. But, it ends the movie in a semi dour note.
Well, is that Drunken Master 2?
Yeah, that's the Drunken Master 2, Legend of the Drunken Master, whatever you want to call it, whatever version of this you grew up with. We made it.
Hey.
This is probably like 3 hours long, right?
This is definitely going to be like one of our longest episodes.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like, I saw some articles saying, like, why Jackie Chan never made Drunken Master 3. And it's like, well, Lau Kar-leung already made a Drunken Master 3. And then there's something along the lines like, oh, what if he resurfaced his character, this Wong Fei-hung Drunken Master character? And I was like, he's mentally retarded at the end of Drunken Master 2. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you can't have a mentally challenged drunken character fight. That would be like even in more poor taste.
Yeah, I actually have been lately hearing more like rumors about, like, what if they do a Drunken Master like remake again? I was like, we don't need those. we don't need them. Like, this movie's plenty fine. Jackie's pushing 70 now, so
I mean, he could play the teacher. The Sifu character, like the original. Yeah, but what actor do we have right now who pulls off anything remotely like Jackie? Like, we've said this before. Like, like the closest we had at certain points, like they can get the talent of Jackie, but they don't have the comedic timing of Jackie. Like, Jackie was one of a kind. Like, even to this day. Like, I really hope that one day we'll get something that rivals that, but maybe that's for the best. I don't want a remake of Drunken Master 2. God forbid they ever do that. It'll happen. It'll probably happen. China will probably try to do something with maybe Jackie Chan as a producer. To attach the name to get people excited. Oh God! And then ultimately, what'll happen is it'll be like young Ip Man. Oh yeah, it's gonna be like the Police Story series, where it's like You remember when they were fun movies? Well, let's just make them like dark dramas.
Yeah, and it's got to be talk about the horrible effects of alcoholism.
I mean, that's not a it's not a terrible story to follow, but you need to have good fight choreography. You need to have good drunken boxing fight choreography. It's something that's not so common. I think the last time we saw it in a more modern movie was Die Fighting. That was like the last time we really saw it, because it's not. You can't do it in a modern setting. The character even acknowledges that it's used for show. So, like, when would it ever come into play unless, like, someone gets drunk in a bar and then does it for a callback, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie kind of is like a good time capsule of like what we thought. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. It feels like a really good blending of traditional martial arts films with like the more modern, right? Like Jackie's still moving in. I mean, that's obviously evident because like Lau Kar-leung and Jackie's were working on this together. But yeah, because of the setting, because of all everything, like it really does work really well. And Jackie gets to insert all his Jackie-isms in here. It really is, I think, the greatest example like Jackie's fight choreography, and like what he's able to show from every aspect, from the action, and like his signature movements, like what makes it his stunt work, and the comedy. Like I don't think we talked enough about the comedy. I think like the comedy is interspersed into the action, like it's woven in there, so you can't really separate it out of there. That's like what makes it like the most iconic Jackie Chan film.
The question.
Yeah, I can't talk enough.
So, question, Will, is this your favorite Jackie Chan film?
Oh yeah, easily.
Okay.
No, it's not even a question.
I don't think we ever discussed that before.
Yeah, I watched this so many times growing up. I had this on VHS, and I remember watching it over and over to the point where the tape started to deteriorate. Yeah, because I remember like part ways into the movie, like the video quality would get worse and worse, like with every subsequent watch. That's how many times I watched it. Like I love this movie, and the more I watch it, the more I pick up on new things. And I'm like, damn, this movie's great. But yeah, this movie holds a special place in my heart. But I don't know, Zero. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a great movie. The movie as a whole, I don't think is the best. It's just fine.
Sure.
It's a vehicle for getting Jackie Chan in these situations for him to use drunken boxing. And that's the stuff that really, really shines. Like story-wise, like I don't really care about it. I like him as a character. I mean, Jackie Chan is always really good at making the people he portrays as like an actual person, like a believable person, because he infuses so much of himself, or at least his persona, into them that you can't help but feel like that's a real person, or at least a recognizable character. So I always appreciate that aspect from his films, unless it's like one of the American movie, the American films, obviously, and they're just like, oh god, like god awful. But I like the fights more than I like the movie, but the movie is still good. It's mandatory. It's mandatory viewing. I'm surprised this isn't in Criterion Collection.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember reading on that. Like they said that the first one is in the Criterion Collection, right?
I don't even think the first one is. I think it's just Police Story.
It's only the Police Story
Story
movies.
1 and
Yeah,
2. I'm surprised this isn't on there.
This is a mandatory watch. I think everyone needs to at least watch it at least once.
Yeah.
Even if you're not an action head. Oh, maybe no, that's not true. I think like action fanatics would enjoy it a lot more than non-action fanatics. But like if you're ever curious, like, was Jackie Chan one of the literally the most iconic martial arts star in the world, outside of Bruce Lee, who had 5 movies. What is the best showcase of his ability? I'm always gonna say Drunken Master 2. Like it's not even a close comparison. I love his other movies too, not all of them. But Drunken Master 2 will always be like, this is like the poster child of like all his other films. Yeah, it's much better than Ride On, which came out this year.
I want to see Ride On. I'm curious.
Okay.
So watch Drunken Master 2 if you haven't seen it, and you've gotten this far into the podcast. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Just go watch it.
Yeah, just go watch it. God, like we talked about it longer than the movie is. So go watch it again if you're still listening.
And get drunk while you're watching it.